Hello, my name is Nicholl, and thank you so much for taking the time out to listen. Today, I titled this message, The Quiet Christian. The Quiet Christian. And for some of you all, you may not be familiar with the quiet Christian, but I have encountered this type of believer. And we are not looking at the fact that they're quiet because they have some type of troubling issue. We're looking at the quiet Christian who is no trouble for the most part when it comes to dealing with people. He or she sticks to the task that is at hand. He or she doesn't have a lot to say. Most often, the quiet Christian is mature. He or she has been through all sorts of things in his or her life and has learned that a lot of talking simply is not necessary. It doesn't mean that the person is self-righteous or prudish or rude or anything like this. This is just a quiet spirit that is upon this individual. And this person has mastered the gossip challenge, if you will. He or she has risen above all sorts of challenges dealing with people, bringing information, cursing about this one and that one, telling lies and all of that. We can learn a thing or two from the quiet, mature Christian. These people who I've come across are not ones for sharing a whole lot of information about themselves or other people. We are warned about the gossip in the Bible, and these quiet Christians are not about to get mixed up with gossips. This is why sometimes with some of these quiet Christians, they get quieter because they know that people who tend to tell a lot of stories, whether true or not, they tend to lack wisdom. These quiet Christians know how to ask God for all sorts of things. They rarely ask people unless, of course, they know that God has moved upon them to ask people to help them with certain things or be a listening ear and all of that. They know that God is one who gives without finding any types of fault. If you take a look at James 1:5, you will be enlightened with the fact that God, when he moves upon people, they act just like him. They will give and they're not going to find fault. They're not going to go around talking about what they have given or anything else. The quiet Christian is very selective about who he or she confides in because that individual knows that when they share information, it's not going to go around. When they are asking of something, they don't have to be concerned about someone running back and saying, did you know that your daughter asked? Did you know that your son said? Did you know that your husband or your wife? You see, quiet Christians, we're going to learn a thing or two. Quiet Christians don't slander folks. Okay? Quiet Christians are not out there writing or talking or saying all sorts of things that are angry, that are filled with all sorts of malice, and they're definitely not using a bunch of filthy language. Those of us who are familiar with Colossians 3:8, we know better, but sometimes we slip, don't we? Colossians 3:8, just to familiarize some of you all with that particular scripture, it says, but now you must rid yourselves of all such things as these: anger, rage, malice, slander, and filthy language from your lips. Okay? Sometimes we get angry with folks who remind us that we shouldn't carry on in a certain way, right? Sometimes people will take out all of their aggression on social media. So they will slander other individuals. You got to be careful when you do that sort of thing because there are laws that protect folks. And if they can build a nice little case against some people for slander, for defamation, they will do just that. We are reminded again not to slander one another in James 4:11, which is brothers, do not slander one another. Very simply put. But sometimes when one is weak to the enemy's schemes, angry, doesn't like what an in-law said, right? Doesn't like what a sibling said or a parent. Okay, so you want to say that about me? I got some information on you. And now there is this conversation that's taking place, and it's not in love, but it's in war. And then that one who listens to the conversation, now they've got to put their opinion. They've got to give their analysis. And then if that person is not correct in what they are giving, now they are going to go through much, especially if that one they're talking about is a believer. You see, we got people who like to call women bees. And I'm not going to spell that out for you, but I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. And we got others who like to call women Jezebels. Okay. Then we've got some of these women who like to talk crazy about some men. And then we've got some of these children who like to say all sorts of crazy stuff about their parents and guardians. Now, if the information is accurate, then okay, I understand. But if the information is inaccurate, then we've got to question what's going on with some folks and why would they say certain things. Okay. Sometimes people have what you call undiagnosed mental illness. So they're going to say just about anything. Okay. And this is why you should definitely be careful talking to folks who you know have gone through a lot and they have not gotten healing. Because anything might come out of their mouths. The quiet Christian knows that there's a lot of mentally unstable folks, including themselves at times. And so this is another reason why they are very careful about what they say to you. Okay. Sometimes there are those who have been wounded so much to the point where they won't even say, how are you? Because they know it's going to cause problems for some folks as well as themselves. Did you hear her? What did she say? She said, how are you? Well, what's wrong with that? No, you didn't hear her tone, honey. You didn't see her eyes. Oh my goodness. Sometimes these quiet Christians are very guarded about a story they've told someone else. And so you may walk into the room and you might want them to share that story with you, but they're mum about it. And they tell the individual who they have confided in not to say anything to you about what they just shared. Oh, but that's so rude. I mean, I've been in their lives for I don't know how long. And then for them to treat me this way. Well, sometimes people start to learn who is friend, who is foe. They also pick up on who is going to betray them. So rather than sit back and hope and pray that you don't say anything, they just will leave you out completely. Proverbs 20:19 says that a gossip betrays a confidence, so avoid a man who talks too much. And this is why some of us who are communicators, I hate to say it, but that's why people don't like to say too much to us. Because they don't know if we are going to go and share that information. When people reach out to me in the comment section, if they don't tell me not to share something, then I assume it's public. It's not that I'm being rude, mean, or nasty or anything like that. It's just you shared it on a public forum. So therefore, it must be okay to talk about it. Now, if the individual says that I would prefer that this information be kept between us and only us, then I'm not going to say, oh yeah, Jane Doe said, right? I'm not going to do that. But we do have those individuals who, once again, they're very quiet and they kind of tiptoe around some folks because simply put, they know that, well, he or she talks too much. Okay. And talking too much isn't a bad thing as long as what's coming out your mouth is truthful, is accurate, and is not going to get you in trouble with the one true God. When I looked at the scriptures, I saw how long Jesus was talking to some folks, to the point where people were hungry and they needed to be fed. And so the boy who had the 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish had to share his lunch. That's a lot of talking. Some folks kind of overlook the scriptures, but if Jesus was to talk among us right now, we would be sitting for a long time. So I know some folks don't like folks who communicate much, but Jesus was a communicator, and we shouldn't overlook that. And many of Jesus's followers are communicators. Once again, it's not so much about how long you talk. It's what you are saying, what's coming out your mouth. That's what God is concerned about. Now, James 5:9 tells us, don't grumble against each other, brothers, or you will be judged. This is why a lot of these professional organizations don't want any of the unnecessary conversation, especially during work hours. You should be in front of your computer. You should be in your office. You should be doing something that's productive, rather than standing there talking for a long period of time with your coworkers. So this is why some of the supervisors and the managers and team leaders and whoever else will come over and say in a nice way, or maybe in a not so nice way, we have some work to do. Can you carry this conversation somewhere else, or can you just postpone all of the conversation for lunch or for after work or before work? But we got a lot of work to do, okay? And some people will take offense to that because they have used coworkers as therapists. They have used coworkers as family members and friends. And so, oh, how dare she come over here and tell me this or tell me that? Well, it's a job. And I know some people don't like to consider themselves to be slaves, but the Bible even refers to slaves, okay? You're a slave. You're a slave to the corporation. Slaves don't do all that talking. Slaves work. So the quiet Christian who is sitting over there in the corner, or a quiet person of faith, or just simply a quiet person, is not getting mixed up with all of the conversation, because they are always thinking about their job and what comes first, their job. Okay. All the camaraderie and so forth, that's nice, but job is always first. Okay. And once again, if you're a communicator, or you're one who's looking at your coworkers like surrogate sisters and brothers and so forth, you take offense to folks interrupting your conversations. And God's not pleased with that. He says that He wants you to focus on what He has given you, and that is your job. He wants you to pray and come to Him with your burdens, and then He will direct you to the right people at the right time. Okay? This is what happens when we just step out of fellowship with the Lord and do what we want. We rub people the wrong way, and then eventually what happens? Work performance is looked at, people are written up, other folks are offended, because if we're the leaders and we're talking to them about what they're doing or not doing, you see. But if I'm on point and I'm doing what I'm supposed to, then I don't have to be concerned about being offended by quiet Christians, or just quiet people in general who don't really want to interact. I don't have to be concerned about any of that sort of thing, because I'm doing my job. We are reminded, Proverbs 13:3, he who guards his lips guards his life, but he who speaks rashly will come to ruin. Some people are very quick to tell everybody how they feel about someone. And they'll say things like, I don't care that the manager knows. I don't care that my mother, father, sister, and whoever else knows. That's just how it is. Well, sometimes that sort of thing will rub people the wrong way, to the point where they will just not want to have anything to do with you. Okay. Sometimes truth, as I've said in many audio, hurts, right? So if one wants everybody to believe lies, if one is covering up some things, if one is secretive, if one is a narcissist, right, a psychopath, or anything like that, they definitely are going to take offense to truth. Okay. But we got some folks who they're very quick to speak because they're just simply angry at folks. Okay. And then they'll say the wrong things at the wrong time. and they're dealing with these children of darkness, and then they end up being caught up in the mess. Okay, the mess that whatever the children of darkness is coming up with, a trap, if you will, okay, to basically break a person down. So maybe I'm upset with a friend, or maybe I'm upset with a partner, and I start speaking real quick about everything I don't like or what have you. Then that partner or a friend who may not be a believer or may not be into God all like that will say things like, oh, but you call yourself a Christian, but you act in this way and that way. See, that's why I'm not going to the church with you. That's why I'm not going to spend any time reading the word with you, because you're this and you're that. And then that's where that name calling comes into play. Oh, that one over there ain't nothing but a Jezebel. That one over there is nothing but a you know what. Okay. Because someone was quick to check someone. Okay. Someone was quick to tell somebody how they feel. Well, I'm not just going to stand there and take all of what he told me. Well, sometimes God, he moves on our spirit to just walk away from folks. Yeah, I could really go there with you today. But you know what? I'm not. I'm not. I'm going to just lean on the Lord and trust in him, because I'm about tired of these battles. Okay. And God, he will deal with folks sooner or later, especially those that are in the wrong, who are very disrespectful, who are secretive, who name call, who backbite, who go around gossiping, telling false stories. Okay. God sees it all. And that's why you got to be careful making accusations or calling people things that are untrue. As people learn more about spirits, they start calling people all sorts of things, and those things may not be accurate, right? So the backbiting and the gossiping and the lying and all that stuff comes into play, and Satan, before long, has two believers turning against one another. Okay? Sometimes the pain of knowing that someone has slandered you, right, whether to your face or to others, can just bring out so many emotions. And so for some of these quiet people, they will remain very quiet for a long time. That means that they're not picking up the phone, contacting family members. They are not coming around to family events. They are not, if they're at the workplace, they're not volunteering for different things. They're just doing their job. They don't want to be a part of any of the company lunches, or they don't want to do too much of anything that's going to require any type of talking. Okay. It takes a long time for people to get over some things, and you may have been one who hurt someone, and that's why they are so quiet around you. Why are you so quiet? Especially if you offend your children in some kind of way, they know how to shut down real quick. They're real talkative with this relative, but not so much with you. Or they are spending a lot of time with friends, but they don't want to spend too much time with the family, because people get tired of being hurt. People get tired of being offended. People get tired of being used and abused. So that quiet countenance comes upon some folks, and it's not always spiritual. Sometimes it's simply, I am fed up. Simply put, I am fed up. Psalm 101:5 says, whoever secretly slanders his neighbor, him I will destroy. No one who has a haughty look and an arrogant heart will I endure. So God's not going to allow his people to keep going through that, especially when they're reaching out to him and saying, I am so tired of this person saying all this stuff about me and hurt my feelings. It's getting ridiculous anymore. And this is why some people will step down from organizations. They will put that letter of resignation in. They will withdraw monies. They will withdraw affection in an intimate relationship. They will make plans to divorce. They will move away from family members. They will suddenly get out of town without notice. Yes, even though for some people they think that, oh, I was just talking to my brother or my sister and it was no big deal. Or they assume information will never get back to folks, and it does. So once again, the quiet Christian is definitely someone to learn some things from when it comes to dealing with some of these liars and backbiters and slanderers and so forth. There is a season that God will move upon us to be quiet. Just don't say anything. They don't deserve anything. They don't need your advice. They don't need you coming around anymore. You just be quiet. And quiet comes in so many ways. Mockers are among us. Proverbs 21:24 says mockers are proud and haughty. They act with boundless arrogance. It's always about them, isn't it? And they're talking about other folks. See, this one, he can't do what I can do. Look at her. She thinks she's better than everybody else. But when I walk in, I do this and I do that. And I look like this and I look like that. And what about them? They're so poor. And but our group, we got a lot of money. And I mean, it's a lot of this going on with a lot of different people. And then they will mock folks who have a faith. What's your God going to do for you? I'm calling you these names. What? Is lightning going to hit me? Okay. Calling you out. Trying to rub you the wrong way so that they can say, see? And she calls herself a Christian. When you attempt to correct these mockers, they're not going to receive that. They're going to fight you tooth and nail. They're going to find all sorts of excuses as to why they did what they did. They're going to project their issues onto you. They may get quiet themselves and just stare at you with a weird look or look away or ignore you. Okay? Because people who do things, sometimes they don't always say mocking things, but they do things to mock others. Sometimes they realize it, sometimes they don't. And so when they're bringing out the worst in some folks and then they are corrected on it, then they want to come back with an attitude or what are you talking about? Or you think you're so smart and all this other stuff. Well, I don't appreciate you mocking me. I didn't think I was doing that. Well, that's what you're doing. You see. Well, what about the other day when you did this and when you did that? Here we go. Do you really want to get into that argument? So, the Lord reminds us in Psalm 1:1, and I've talked about the scripture years ago, but I feel that this is one of those that I want to close this message out. And that is, blessed is the man who does not walk in the counsel of the wicked, or stand in the way of sinners, or sit in the seat of mockers. Oh, it was all in fun. I didn't mean anything by what I said. We're cool. It's all good. No, it's not all good. Because if you can act like that with me, you're going to act like that with other folks. And then if you act like that with other folks, especially my children, then you just don't know. And so it opens up a whole can of worms dealing with some of these gossips and backbiters and mockers and so forth. They separate friends. They keep up some type of drama, some type of contention. They're always having something to say to someone that is hurtful. At some point, if you spend enough time with them, they will eventually hurt you with all of their words. If you have recognized yourself, a group, or just people who you love dearly, in this particular audio message, take a moment to pray for them. For we all know not what we do at times, right? God is the one who exposes these things that we don't like to talk about. Right? He's the one who shows us who is friend and who is foe, even though we want to keep some foes friends and then we want to distance ourselves from friends. Matthew 10:26-27 says, there's nothing concealed that will not be disclosed or hidden that will not be made known. What I tell you in the dark, speak in the daylight. What is said, whispered in your ear, proclaim from the roofs. Jesus, when he spoke these sorts of things, he wanted us to ponder them a bit. He tells you some things, using that Holy Spirit to guide you, to help others. And sometimes the things that we speak, people are not going to receive them, no matter how righteous, how true they are. It doesn't make us slanderers. It doesn't make us gossips. It doesn't make us liars or backbiters. It doesn't make us mockers. Some people are going to look for faults because they don't want us to expose them for who they really are. The narcissistic whoever in the family doesn't want you telling the truth. And you can tell the truth in love. I've been told this over the years. And you can tell the truth in love and they will still not like you. You can talk about everybody else, but if they connect anything to themselves and they feel like you were hurting them by saying this and saying that, they're going to feel some kind of way. But we're not responsible for how people interpret things or how they feel about this, that, and the other. When we speak truth, we speak it as best we know how. We ask the Lord to lead us. We ask that God's angels of protection be upon us. But as I've said in other audio, we don't roll out red carpets and allow people to step all over us. That is not what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to stand strong. We're supposed to be courageous, like our Father. We're to listen and obey Him. And in this way, we can go to sleep at night, not worried about the things we said or did during the day. We are reminded in the scriptures to tame the tongue. So there are those moments that quiet Christian in the group, that quiet Christian might even caution you. You don't want to have that conversation with those people. You may even feel so moved to warn others, but you warn others in a way where it's not going to be looked at as you being a gossip, even though some may look at it as such. But you warn others and you let them know that these are real issues that you do not want that individual to get caught up in. And if they feel so bold as to go back and tell whomever or what have you, you just let them know, I won't tell you anything else. I'm not here to cause problems. I'm here to help. And I don't want to see you get hurt like I've been hurt over the years. You see? So that is it. Please do check the description box for anything that might be of interest. You've been listening to YouTube NM Enterprise 7. To God be the glory. Also, if you haven't given, we do welcome donations. Many blessings to you.